Hi everyone, John and Stepan here. Today we played our monthly training game, which is included in the Fischer tier on Patreon. Hello, John.
Hi.
So first thing I would like to ask you, as always, did you prepare for the game?
Actually, no. I was a little busy preparing for a tournament I played yesterday, so I didn't really prepare for this game at all.
Okay, yeah, by the way, we didn't have time to talk about the tournament. How did it go?
It went okay. I did about as well as expected.
Meaning?
Meaning I gained 14 rating points, but, not much more than that.
Okay.
So I was a little disappointed, but
what was the final score?
It was not a bad result.
Okay. What was your result at the end?
2 out of 4.
Okay, well, that's fine. And what was the average rating?
Trying to calculate in my head.
Come on.
1,500 maybe.
Okay. Well, it's good. You gained points. Did you play any new stuff? Anything we've been working on?
I played the Tarrasch variation of the French as white.
Okay. How did that one go?
Actually, I misplayed the opening. I blundered the pawn on e5 pretty early on, and was just a pawn down for most of the game. Had some chances at the end there, but eventually my opponent just liquidated, and he was left. We were left in a rook and pawn endgame, and he was a pawn up. So
no. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that can happen. The Tarrasch French is hard if you don't know how to keep control over d4, and I'm assuming you played f4 or something later on, but okay, never mind. So yeah, this game that we played today, before we show it, would you like to say anything about it?
Just that it was extremely interesting, at least to me.
Yeah.
I went from taking basically no risks in the early middle game to taking huge risks in the late middle game, and it kind of came back to bite me there.
Well, it was. I remember having a lesson with you, and we were talking about Scandinavian structures and how if white is not allowed to play d5, then the position is equal, but it's hard to play for black because he has nothing to do.
Right.
And I remembered talking about that with you when we were playing, so I thought it was really funny. Okay, so anyway, John played e4. I played d5, ed, knight f6. I played the modern. Did you know how to play against this? Have you ever played against it?
Played against it once, but at the time I didn't know how to play against it.
Okay.
After that loss, because I lost that game, I ended up viewing it a little bit, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I probably memorized the first 5 or 6 moves maybe.
Okay.
And learned just some of the thematic moves and patterns.
Yeah, well,
so I didn't feel totally uncomfortable by it, but it would not have been my choice of opening if, I had to say.
Yeah. Okay, so here I played bishop g4 because it's the most active. e6 is the most precise. Bishop e2 is fine. e6 is okay. I can play knight c6 as well. I can play... Well, yeah, e6 is probably okay. And now bishop d2. I was really upset when I saw this move. Why did you play bishop d2?
I'm trying to remember, because after I played it, I realized that my pawn on d4 was kind of in danger. And I probably should have just played something like knight c3 or h3 first.
Well, the thing is, your bishop, you always have that dilemma with black. Do you develop your bishop to e7 or to d6? And if my bishop goes to e7, then your bishop can come to f4. If my bishop goes to d6, then your bishop can pin my knight on g5. So instead of playing bishop d2, that's basically a loss of tempo because you are going to move the bishop again anyway. And the d4 pawn is not the problem. The problem is that you don't really want your bishop on d2, and you have 2 useful moves you can make. Well, 3. The most useful, I would say, is c4. And when you play c4, I'm going to play knight f6. And when I play knight f6, you now leave me with a choice of bishop
Right.
e7 or bishop d6. You castle, and I basically have to choose one. And
Yeah.
if I go bishop e7, you just go bishop f4 in one move, and that's just a much better position for the bishop. And then, not to mention that you get to play knight c3 later and everything. So c4 is a tempo which you gain by me not playing queen takes d5 very early on. By playing the modern, you basically have the option of playing c4, pushing my knight away. So bishop d2 I thought
Yeah.
was...
I will say I did consider c4. I'm trying to remember the variation. I think it was after c4, if you had played something like, I don't know, knight b5, attacking that c4 pawn. And then if you had attempted to, like if I played h3.
I'm sorry,
you take
c4,
on
knight
F.
b5? What?
Knight b6.
Knight b6, okay.
Yeah. And then at some point you can capture my knight, and if I take back with the bishop, then you get to capture that pawn on c4. Of course, what I missed is, the afterwards I can just play queen a4 check
Yeah.
and win the knight, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, but I think bishop d2 is slow, and now I had, instead of thinking for a long time, I thought about, well, c5 is a good move. I get to play a structure which is much better than the Caro-Kann structure I'm going to get after c6, and I should use the opportunity because you played bishop d2. And if I play c5, I think you have to take it. And if you take it, I develop my bishop with tempo, and I no longer have any problems. Now any c4 is going to be weak, but then I said to myself, well, no, just play bishop e7, play what you know, and I'm pretty convinced that c5 was a good move, and not only here, but on the next 10 moves, probably. So, okay, bishop e7, sorry?
You end up not playing it the entire game.
Yeah, I ended up playing c6 in the end, and after c6, I would like to play c5 at the perfect moment, but never got to play it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so c4 is correct. I thought about knight b6, but yeah, for some reason I didn't want to play it. I wanted to keep my knight on f6. I still think knight b6 was better. I don't know what you do after knight b6.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't think
Maybe.
b3 works.
Yeah, I'm not sure if b3 works either.
But I mean, what else? I'm threatening bishop f3. Well, not for the moment, because b7 is hanging, but after something like c6... I don't... Well, maybe. Okay, so...
Yeah, you would need to... Yeah.
So maybe knight e5 is... Probably knight e5. I mean,
Well,
that's...
then I just lose the pawn on d4, don't I?
Well, for the moment, my bishop is hanging, so if I take,
Take.
queen takes, bishop c3... I don't know, I would be really scared to play this with black, even though, yeah, maybe it is a free pawn. We'll have a look at it with an engine. But yeah, I didn't want any of that. I played knight f6. Bishop now the cost of bishop d2, moving the bishop again, and now once again, why not just move it to f4?
That's a good question.
I mean, the bishop on e3 is doing absolutely nothing. If I play bishop f3, you just recapture. Your queen is defending d4, your bishop is attacking b7. So, I don't know. That's I mean, the main concession of bishop e7 is allowing bishop f4. So I was really happy to see bishop e3. Now again, c6, I don't know. I think c6 was a mistake. Maybe knight c6 was good. Because now I am threatening bishop f3. And if you play bishop takes b7, I can take on b2. So again, I don't know what you do. If you develop, I can probably just take, and it should be fine. So I was looking at knight c6 briefly, but...
Wait, how could you take there?
What do you mean?
Because I guess one of the few benefits of my bishop being on e3 is that it does double protect the d4 pawn.
Oh yeah, okay. I imagined the bishop being on f4. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I was thinking about positions with bishop f4. Okay, bishop e3, c6, castles, and now knight e5, which is thematic and fine. Bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, and now I think this was my first long think.
Mm-hmm.
I started being sort of afraid that I don't have a plan, and I didn't have a plan. And I thought you were better here despite having the bishop on e3. So I ended up playing knight b to d7. Rook d1 is a great move. And now I have to... Here I thought for 5 or more minutes. I couldn't find the move.
I think this was your first real big think. I think you played knight b to d7 pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, while you were calculating, I was trying to calculate what if you just went ahead and took the knight on e5 anyway.
I don't think that works because after I play queen c8, my rooks are disconnected. If I play queen c7, I'm pretty sure...
Well, you wouldn't play queen c8 because the pawn, if you capture on e5, then d takes e5. Attacks the knight
I'm saying
the queen, but then you can move your knight back to d7 potentially.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. After knight d7, I would have to move my queen away somewhere. But the problem is that after knight e5, d5, knight d7, you would get to play the move bishop f4. And then I no longer have queen c7. I would have to play queen c8, and my rooks are disconnected. And if I play queen b6, my knight is hanging. So taking the knight, I'm pretty sure, is horrible. Queen b6 runs into d5. Queen c7 runs into bishop f4. Rook e8 runs into knight c3, d5. I just couldn't find the move. And then I found this weird idea of queen a5, which isn't really a one-move threat trying to win a pawn on e5. It's more about keeping my queen on a flexible square where she's going to be controlling d5 and also, well, in some positions threatening to win the pawn, and also stopping a3, b4, which was the main idea.
Yeah.
I don't know about taking... Why not knight c3? That seems way more useful.
Why not knight c3?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems okay at the time. I actually was concerned about losing the pawn on e5. Part of the reason why I took, I was less concerned about knight c3 and more trying to decide whether I wanted to play bishop f4, bishop g5 instead of knight takes.
Yeah. Sorry, knight c3 is stupid because you lose a pawn, but yeah, okay. Let's say bishop f4, and then my queen doesn't really have a good retreat square. So I don't know. I would never give up the e5 knight for the d7 knight. They are miles apart. Your knight was much better. I mean, the knight on e5 and the whole on e5 is the main problem for black in the Caro-Kann and in the Scandinavian. Now that I got rid of that, I was happy. Knight c3. Knight f6. Here I also thought for a long time, I was wondering whether I should play rook d8, rook e8, or knight f6. And after rook e8, I thought you could play d5, but so takes. I didn't know what I should do here. I was afraid that if I play something like queen c7, you're just going to play rook c1, and I'm in trouble. And follow it up with something like knight b5. So I
definitely like white there.
Yeah, so I think I had to play knight f6. a3. Try to explain your thoughts.
a3 was mainly just so that I'd already planned to bring both rooks to the D file. But before I can really do that, I mean, the knight is protecting the pawn on a2, but if the knight ever moves, say your knight is on f6, if it ever tries to jump into e4, or just there's a series of captures on d5, that could leave the pawn on a2 hanging. So it was more just a preemptive measure to free the rook up.
So we are talking about a situation in which you manage to play d5, you have both your rooks on the d file, I've recaptured with my f6 knight, so it's no longer there, and your rooks are able to come to d7. I really don't think I would have time to take queen a2. I mean, if your rooks are coming down and you play d5, this pawn doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, it was not something that I had calculated out that far. It was more just a intuitive concern for the long-term structure.
Okay.
I also didn't realize I could play b4 later, though it would hang the a3 pawn, which is actually what ended up happening.
Yeah.
But really, the only move I was considering other than a3 would be something like bishop f4, with the idea of playing c5 and then bishop e5 later.
I really don't like c5. I like bishop f4, but c5 I think is kind of pushing it, because whenever I can plant my knight into d5, and if you take recapture with the e pawn, I don't think you have anything, because if you don't push d5, you can't trade pieces. If your d pawn is still on d4 and your c pawn is on c5, then this is a permanent weakness, which I'm just going to try to trade the pieces off, put my rooks on d7 and d8, and try to win the pawn. So I like bishop f4, but because it's an active move, and it stops my queen from retreating to c7, but not c5. Let's say I play rook to e8 here, and you do what? You just try to double your rooks. I think that's fine. Rook to d8. Now my queen is in trouble. I can't play rook to d8. So I don't know what I would have done. I think bishop f4 was
also, yeah, I would also consider here just bishop e5 to protect that pawn on d5 even more.
But you don't need to protect it, you need to push it.
Yeah, and as I realized later, as this kept on going, realized that no matter what, you were always going to be able to defend d5. Like, I was never going to win that square.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole game revolved around that. So yeah, I remember what I was thinking after bishop f4. I was going to play queen f5, as I mentioned after the game. I always had this move as a tempo, and now if you play bishop to e5, I can now safely play rook to d8 and then bishop d6. Okay, but a3, rook fe8, indirectly stopping d5 because the bishop is pinned. And rook d3 I really didn't like, firstly because a3 is now not helping b4, because b4 bishop takes b4. Secondly, because in many variations where you leave the a3 pawn hanging, I have queen a6, which pins your rook to your queen, which is what ended up happening later.
Right.
And I understand that you don't want to play rook d2 because it runs into something like queen f5, knight e4 in some situations. But
yeah,
if I trade my f6 knight for your c3 knight, then it's equal on d5, and my king side is weaker. So I don't think if I would ever choose to do that. Rook ad8, normal. Rook ad1. Rook d7, just trying to double up my rooks on the d file and maybe play c5, maybe e5. And now b4, which to be honest, before playing rook to d7, I said to myself, b4 is impossible, and didn't look at it at all. And I considered it for a second and then said, no. And then you played it, and you played it fairly quickly. So what was your calculation?
No, I definitely didn't. It took me, it looks like 3 minutes to play it.
Okay. Well, that's fairly quickly considering it's a pawn sacrifice.
Well, 3 minutes out of 11 is about as slowly as I can possibly play a move.
Okay, so what was your calculation?
So I knew I was giving up the a3 pawn, at least if you did accept the sacrifice. And then after knight d5, I'm obviously threatening your queen, so you have to move that. And then I can eliminate your dark square bishop with tempo.
Okay.
And at that point, I figured I could just completely dominate on the dark squares. And on top of that, your queen would end up on a6 and would have a very difficult time coming back to the king side to defend. And then with the rook on d3, I figured once my bishop comes to a square like f4 or e5, I could slide the rook over to g3.
That makes sense. But I think the problem is, and we are going to look at this with an engine. So my calculation was this before I took on a3. So queen takes a3, knight d5, queen a6, knight e7, rook d takes e7, and then bishop g5. And after bishop g5, I would have to play something like king f8 to be able to go to e7. If I, or sorry, I would have to play rook e7 to d7 to make sure I'm able to play if bishop takes f6, g takes f6, so that I can play king f8, king e7. And I was really scared of that. I couldn't see if I was losing or not. I saw that I was lost if I take on c4. So takes, knight d5, queen a6, and this is what happened in the game up to a point. So knight e7, rook takes. And now after bishop g5, I think I'm just dead lost if I take on c4, because you take, and play queen g4. And I don't think there's a defense to this. Whatever I do, I just get mated.
Right.
Well, maybe... We're going to have to check this out with an engine. But I thought that queen takes c4 just loses. And I was planning to play rook to d7. So that if you take...
Queen takes c4?
Sorry?
You said queen takes c4 here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one tempo I can't spare. So I would play rook d7, takes, and after queen g4.
So you're going to have to come to, and then knight g3, or not knight, rook g3.
Yeah, but now it's safer. Well,
safe
now I'm a pawn up. Come on. I don't think this is bad.
I might just bring the rook back to e3 there.
And I'll take on c4. As long as I'm stopping d5, I'm fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, so maybe that doesn't work.
We will check it out with an engine, but after rook takes on e7, you played c5, which is...
Yeah.
C5, when I saw c5, I thought to myself, yes. and there are two interesting moves here. One of them is obviously knight d5. The other one is e5, which I think is much stronger. Because I don't see a way to react to e5. But what we were calculating, so I was calculating knight d5, bishop g5, and knight takes b4. And if you take, I'm just going to take, and when you take with the rook, I'm going to recapture, and this is winning for black.
Right.
And you mentioned the variation, which goes knight d5, bishop h6, and if I take, you go queen g4, which I think is very good for you, king f8.
I think I was planning on rook g3 first, but yeah, I think it doesn't really matter. The order doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, but this is, what do I do here?
Well, that's kind of the point where I realized that f6 or f5 is...
No, what are you talking about? f6 or f5 lose to a mate.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking your king would be on h8. Why would you bring it to f8?
Ah, yeah, that's true. yeah, that's correct. Okay, yeah, that makes way more sense. Okay, but after knight d5, bishop g6, I don't think I was going to take. I didn't see a problem with knight takes b4.
Well, then I'd probably play rook g3.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that
no,
definitely loses the queen, doesn't it?
No, I think you can mate me. Okay, tactical problem. So let's say I take the queen. Oh no, you're losing the other rook as well. Okay.
Yeah, with tempo.
Yeah, but let's say I played something stupid. No, yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's still, you've got two squares there, so. Now, maybe after... Okay, so go back to that position.
Yeah.
Instead of rook g3, maybe queen g... Or, yeah, queen g4 check. works there.
It's not a check because I didn't take the bishop.
Or not check. Yeah, yeah. You didn't take the bishop.
No,
That's
I
right.
was just going to
It
play g6
is
here.
more threatening. Yeah, g6 kind of works.
Because I didn't see a way for you to get to the dark squares quick enough. Because
Right.
queen g5, no, actually. Oh, wait. No, I can just play f5, and it's fine. Yeah, queen g5, f5, and you'd have to
Yeah.
move your rook away.
Right.
But we'll check that out too. But in the game, I didn't want to move my knight away. I wanted to just play e5. That's what I was calculating, because I don't think there's a defense to this. So the first thing is, if you take, I'm going to take, and you can't move your bishop. If you play rook d8, I'm just going to play knight e5, and now you're in trouble. No, wait, your queen is hanging. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's not even... so, okay, you can't move your rook still, and I'm going to play knight d5. Then if you don't take, if you move your bishop to g5, then I have e4, which doesn't lose material. You can go here, but I'm just going to exchange and play, probably just chase your bishop away and be better here. Then after e5...
Well, I'm actually not 100% sure you might be slightly better there, but just because you're a pawn up, I think. But other than that, there's at least something. How to
After
play bishop
e4?
g5. Well, after that variation, rookie, yeah.
What if I just do this?
Or I probably just would have done rook e3 instead of d2. Why rook back to d2?
What do you mean?
Just kind of ends in the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the
it just
same thing.
ends.
But yeah, I don't have to play... I can just go rook e6 here instead of h6 and defend.
Yeah,
And it's fine.
that works.
And the last thing is what happened in the game, queen d2, which worried me for a moment, because I thought, well, you may have bishop takes. And then I was constantly calculating knight d5, and then I realized, what am I talking about? Why knight d5? I can just play rook to e2, and that should be much better. So then when your queen moves, I can go either knight d5 or rook e6 or something like that. So let's say you play queen g5, I would play rook e6. And
And
wait.
after take.
Yeah, now I'm hanging mate. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe not rook e2. Okay, let's say I do go knight d5. What do you do? Queen g4. I was planning to play f6.
Right.
Queen g5, f6. And I don't think you have enough.
I mean, I could just. Yeah, I mean, if I took on f6, you just take it with the knight.
Yeah. And if I exchange a pair of rooks, then...
Right.
I'm actually threatening
Yeah.
to... No, I'm not threatening to win the rook, because you can move your king, but... Okay, so e5 I thought worked in all variations, and after I took... You played bishop h6, which is just a tactical blunder.
Yeah.
Did you calculate mate if I take it?
Well, yeah, I calculated mate, I believe, if you took it, or if you moved your knight to d5, which I was kind of expecting. I couldn't find specific mate, but it at least looked a bit more threatening because I could capture with my queen on d5 and threaten g7 again.
What was your plan after d5? Queen.
After knight d5,
Yeah.
Rook g3,
Okay.
and then you would probably play something like f6 or g6. Yeah, g6, and then queen takes d5, or d4, sorry. And then I've got some threats here. And then I know that my king can always come to 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even consider knight d5. There's just a killer move here, knight e4.
Yeah, and once you played knight e4, which I missed, I knew it was probably lost at that point.
Yeah, and they saw this trick with
g3.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this trick with queen c1 and rook a3, which I saw before playing knight e4, which just ends the game. So queen c1, and I just took the bishop because you don't have any squares, and you played rook a3. But yeah, so obviously if I don't have e2, then queen b5 loses to rook a5. But after queen e2, it's over. And there's no defense to this. I'm threatening f2, and I'm threatening to win everything.
Right.
And I'm a piece up and a pawn up, and it's over. Yeah, so I think it was a very exciting game. I would like to point out 2 weaknesses. Let's just have a look at it with an engine. So yeah, here castles. I'm guessing c4 is also okay instead of bishop d2. The engine likes knight b6. Bishop d2 almost equal, and yeah, c5. I hate being right and not playing the move. The problem is that c5 is not thematic for the opening this early on. Okay, h3, bishop h5, c4 has to be correct. Knight f6 is an error. Bishop e3. Why not bishop f4? Okay, knight c3 makes sense, but bishop f4 should be better than bishop e3. No, the engine likes it less because of c5.
Oh, c5 again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Bishop e3, again c5. I'm going to... I hate when this happens. Okay, c6. Plus 1.5 after c6. Castles. Knight e5. Takes the bishop. Queen takes. Do you see it again? c5.
Okay. May not be thematic in a standard Scandinavian, but it was clearly thematic in this particular game.
Yeah. Okay, h6 is a move I considered. I did not consider taking. What? Takes. Pawn takes. Knight d7. Knight c3, and what do I do now?
Well, looks like your calculation wasn't wrong. I guess that forces me to play f4, doesn't it?
The problem is that I kept calculating this position with the pawn not being on e5. I kept seeing your bishop on f4 staring at c7. That was the problem. And that's actually the most common reason for me to blunder tactics when I imagine a piece not being there after it captures something. So again, I did the same mistake. Okay, but rook d1, queen a5, the engine thinks it's fine. Almost as equal as taking, so okay. So what should you have done after queen a5? Bishop g5. And we were discussing bishop f4, which I'm guessing is also okay. Yeah, bishop g5 makes sense because then you are threatening to take the d7 knight for free.
Right.
And now nobody's playing knight d3. Come on. That's just... No human is playing knight d3. Knight f6, a3. a3 is surprisingly good. Rook to d3 is a mistake. Rook a8, rook a1.
I don't know if I'd call it a mistake.
I mean, you had plus point 0.8. Yeah.
I mean, there were better moves, but it was okay.
Yeah. And now queen f5, which I was looking at for the entire time, but I didn't want to do it. b4. Okay. It doesn't take, which is fun. I'm really anxious to see what happens after takes. Which is what you played. Yeah.
And it gives it a 1.1 pawn advantage.
So let's see. Okay, knight d5 is correct. I'm guessing queen a6 is correct. Knight takes bishop is correct. King f8? What? No, okay, let's just take my way. No difference. And now bishop g5, that was what was worrying me. c5 has to be bad. And bishop g5, I was going to play rook d7 to get away from that.
Yeah.
Queen f3 first.
I don't completely understand that one. Oh, I guess I do. Yeah. To unpin it from the rook. And maybe plan to bring it to g3.
Well, let's see what it
That's
does.
the idea.
So, okay, my plan was to run away, so I would have
Oh
run
no,
away.
it's to capture the knight and then recapture the pawn. That's why.
And then it gives the position as equal. What?
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense. So it played what? It played its own best variation, and now it gives it as equal. Okay. I mean, you have a draw at least.
Right.
So, okay, bishop g5, rook d7. What if you take immediately? That's what I was calculating. I mean, it shouldn't be much different after king f8, queen f, or queen f3, king f8. It should lead to the same variation. Oh no, now I have f5. Ah, okay.
Now it actually is equal.
Yeah. Let's just check queen c4, because I'm guessing. Ooh. Yeah. I needed the e7 square. Okay, I can't take the bishop. Let's see what happens if takes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Your own. Yeah, you can no longer play f6 or f5.
no, but my queen is
Defend your
hanging on c4.
Oh, that too. That'll do it.
That I completely missed.
And your rooks are useless.
Yeah. Okay, stupid. I just didn't see that variation. Okay. And now...
I'm sure you would have seen it if it had actually been played on the board.
Yeah, but by then, probably was too late. Okay, and c5. c5, the engine wants to play knight d5. Okay, let's see bishop h6.
I mean, yeah, again, there's that defense. That defense made it completely worthless. And I realized that after I played c5, which is when I messaged you that I miscalculated.
Yeah. So what's wrong with e5?
Queen b2. Oh, okay, I can kind of see queen b2.
Yeah, just getting away from the pin.
Right.
But I mean, I do get to trade a pair of rooks if you
And
take
I can
with the
always
bishop.
recapture
Yeah.
on d4 with the queen on b2.
I think my
Okay.
laptop is dying because of the engine and Skype.
I mean, we've kind of reached the end of it, though, because
Yeah.
it was all downhill from here.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a really fun game.
Yeah. I mean, I still enjoyed it. I lost, but
Yeah.
it was tremendously exciting.
Yeah.
And there was always that moment of dread after I made a move and then redo the calculations. Because at this point, I had, like 3 minutes, 4 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah.
So I just made a move with half-assed calculations and realized that I was doomed.
Yes, I think that maybe... Okay, even the pawn sacrifice is probably okay. But, yeah, okay, c5 is bad. Had you played bishop g5, oof, it would have been a different game. One thing I think is a serious mistake is bishop d2. That I really don't understand because...
Well, I'm not going to play that one again because now that I've actually played through a game in that specific opening, I'll be a lot more aware of it.
It's just a pattern you now are going to know in c6,
Right.
c6 structures. Black has to choose between d6 and e7 for his bishop, so that applies to the Caro-Kann, Scandinavian, Slav, semi-Slav. And well, I don't know if there's any other opening, but okay, there may be. So then you basically wait for black to develop his bishop because that's his queenside, because that's his kingside bishop, and he has to develop it in order to castle. And your c1 bishop is your queenside bishop, so you get to castle in the meantime. So he is going to play the bishop out by the time you castle, and then you will have enough time to just play to a different square. So if he plays e7, to e7 you play bishop f4. If he plays it to d6, you play bishop g5. That's just, I mean, on d2 it's blocking your queen, not doing anything.
Right.
Okay, thank you for the game.
Yeah.
The next one should be even more exciting than this one. I have to say it's becoming very hard to play these games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard in the sense that you're not completely destroying all of your opponents, or?
No, I lost this morning to Oshin. He crushed me. So, well, he didn't crush me. He played the hippo, and I had +2 out of the opening. I was much better. And then I made one blunder, which he kept on punishing until he won, which was insane. He played amazingly well after that. Before that, he played like I played after that. And just so, yeah, I mean, today I played 2 games against you guys, lost one, won one. So not really a good score for me. But if anything, that's really making me happy, honestly. I mean, just the amount of progress you've made from the first game and from the first lesson is amazing. Having played a game like this, it's just... So bishop d2, again, bishop d2, remember that. Apart from that, it was a great game. Yeah. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you, John, again. And stay tuned for more chess.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.